Donald Trump's multiplying legal teams have been busy with a flurry of motions over the past 2 days of court action. In Washington, D.C., his lawyers filed to have the judge, Tanya Chutkan, in the election stealing case recuse herself. In New York, more of his legal team told an appeals court that his defamation trial set for January should be put on hold so he can argue presidential immunity. That trial, keep in mind, is only about how much he owes writer E. Jean Carroll for defaming her, since the jury already found him liable for defamation and sexual abuse. In Georgia, the ex-president's lawyers are asking the judge to toss out 8 of the 13 counts brought against him by Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis. Cyrus Vance Jr. served as the Manhattan District Attorney for more than a decade, from 2010 till 2022. During that time, his office began the long investigation into Donald Trump's hush money case, the first case in which the ex-president ultimately was indicted. And Cy Vance joins me now. It's good to have you here.
Chris, nice to see you.
You know, the position of Manhattan District Attorney is probably one of the, certainly at the state level, probably one of the most high-profile prosecutors in the country. I think it would be fair to say. You got a whole Law and Order show about you. And it's natural that you have a lot of eyes on you. You have very, very high-profile cases. And I just wonder, if you're running a prosecution office and you've got a high-profile case and you've got a very powerful and well-lawyered defendant, how that changes the atmosphere under which you prosecute the case.
Well, I think it's the Manhattan DA's office is no stranger to high-profile cases, whether it's in politics or sexual abuse or in typical street crime.
Right.
So I think that actually the focus when a case is under media scrutiny is to keep your team focused on their job. And that is the witnesses, the evidence. And your job as DA is really to protect them from the external, all that stuff, and to get them focused. And as the DA, I think you are absorbing, as you do, reading the papers and listening to the news, the advocates and the critics. You absorb all that. But as the DA, I really do think you just need to keep your eye. It's like a pro basketball player trying to shoot the free throw.
Right.
Focus on the shot. All the rest is noise.
Totally. There is, though, this sort of tactical question that's interesting. So in the case of, in this Georgia case, it's a very complicated case, right? It's very clear, Nick Ackerman was writing about this in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, this sort of, the 19 co-defendants are trying as much as they can to break up the case, right? To multiple trials. So the reigning defendants, including Trump, get to preview the prosecution's case. They could drag out the trials. They could delay the other defendants from having to face the music, make it more likely to force better plea deals for individual clients from a district attorney who does not want to litigate the case multiple times. In terms of how you deal with the tactical imperative here, particularly on speed and pace, how do you think about that?
Well, the district attorney made a conscious decision to proceed with the 19-defendant case. She has experience with that. She's been successful with that, and she believes that is the best way to assign responsibility and that she can manage it. The challenge, which she's no stranger to, is 19 defendants are a lot of defendants to manage, but the X factor is obviously President Trump, the politics, and the chaos. And this is where he's a 500 hitter in the chaos world. So I think the challenge she has is now she's going to have to manage all these motions for separate trials and the like. But at the end of the day, her team will manage that. They may not get all the rulings they like. There may be a case that is set for trial early that may give other folks have access to discovery. But all that, I think, is a foreseeable and natural outcome of a decision to bring a multi-defendant case. And I assume that she believes that the evidence is strong, that it will survive 1 or 2, 3 trials, and she has every confidence that her team will prevail.
Have you had 19 defendants?
I've had 103 defendants in cases.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, and was criticized for having 103 defendants in cases.
What was that case?
It was just a large gang case. Okay. A real northern Manhattan.
But a RICO case, it must have been, right?
It was a straight conspiracy to commit murder case.
Okay.
But in any event, the RICO statute that she's used is powerful, and she's using it, I believe, to good effect. The consequences of choosing that strategy is it's more complicated to manage the logistics, and the judges have to make decisions in a 19-defendant case in terms of scheduling that they don't have to make in a 3-defendant case.
It also seems to me that this pace issue has to be, you've seen this from Jack Smith's office, right? Like, they never want to be, it's like when you're working on a project and other people you want to get it done and other people are lagging behind, you never want to be the obstacle, right? Like, you never want to be the one who's got an outstanding email or a call returned or an item. Like, you always want to be like, I'm done. Where are you? I'm done. Where are you? And you can see that with Jack Smith. And I got to imagine it does create pressure on everyone who's prosecuting all these cases if you are trying to make sure this thing actually has a speedy trial before November of next year.
Well, I think if I'm reading tea leaves, the federal cases have the gravity and the weight to go first. The Manhattan DA and even Judge Merchan in comments has indicated that they are not opposed necessarily to delay. I don't think District Attorney Willis has said anything that I know of. But at the end of the day, when you have 4 cases and you have 4 prosecutors, there has to be order and there has to be comedy. And also the defense position has to be taken into consideration. So it would not surprise me if the federal case goes first, as is expected.
Yeah, this was today, Judge Merchan saying, in light of the many recent developments involving Mr. Trump and his rapidly evolving trial schedule, which I thought was sort of cheeky, I do not believe it would be fruitful for us to conference this case on September 15th to discuss scheduling. He wrote that to Trump lawyer Todd Blanche. We will have a much better sense at that time whether there are any actual conflicts. If so, what the best adjourn date might be for trial. In other words, everyone's reading the newspaper. Everyone understands this thing on March 4th. They're supposed to go later that month. Judge Merchan and District Attorney Alvin Bragg have both expressed flexibility.
As they should.
Right.
By the way, I mean, I think that's entirely appropriate, and it's not lessening the significance of their case. It's just we have
the guy's got to be there every day.
Yeah.
There's only one of them.
We got to figure out how to manage this process.